R/S credit. You and a super intelligent snail both get $1 million, and you both become immortal. However you die, if the snail touches you, it always knows where you are and slowly crawls toward you. What's your plan? Follow-up questions might be in order. Like, how does the snail spend the money? Does it hire a butler or something that carries its debit card? It's highly intelligent, but lacks vocal cords. Can it communicate at all? How about airplane travel? Does it only travel by crawling? I would never put the snail in such a place where I couldn't access it. I imagine actually being immortal would get tiring after a few centuries. How desensitized you'd become to everything, as you've watched every friend you had during your mortal years grow old and die around you. Your parents, your siblings, your spouse and children, your grandchildren. Everyone you ever knew when life was precious is now gone. So sure, you are left with the next generation of people who you can love, but is that love the same? I would want the snail always to be within reach, that I could end this charade of immortality once I feel my time is done. So the snail is super intelligent, and I imagine it would see through most of these other people's plans. Of course, what I do is I embrace the snail coming towards me, but secretly I have a plan. Most people would settle for a metal box to trap the snail, but they are forgetting one thing, that the snail, being super intelligent and all, can probably operate a motor vehicle, go around a box, not fall for a hamster wheel, etc. Exactly what I do is, instead of looking for these cheap tricks in hopes of living an eternal life of riches, is invest. But what I invest in, you might ask? Obviously not some sort of simple container for the snail. Desire of riches is not going to fool me into that sort of trap. Yes, that's right, I invest in a sort of microscopic coating. Once I find the right team of scientists, I invest half of my $1 million into developing this coating. Not only would this coating have to cover me, but it would also have to be permanent and invisible. Could this be possible? Even I do not know, but with right team, it might just. Though that's not the end. Over the years, the snail would probably realize that I had a microscopic coating, so it would evolve to deal with this. Little does the snail know, through the hundreds of years I had devised a second plan. Deception. Making a clone of myself. The clone would be eternal too, and having both of me go to opposite ends of the earth, the snail would be trapped, feeling an equally strong pull in both directions. The snail would be paralyzed, and I would be living a life of eternal joy. Except for one thing. Read the first letter of every sentence to find out. I'd invest the money so it grows. Rent a home as far from the snail's currently location as possible. It will literally take years to crawl the distance. Every, say, 3 years, I'd rent a place near the snail's starting location, so the snail has to start backtracking. Back and forth it goes. It might be immortal, but I bet it gets too bored to keep that up. As my money grows, I'll buy homes in more remote/distant areas, so I have to move less, and the snail has to travel more. Simple. I track down the wife of the snail, and I implant an explosive on her spine. If the snail dares to touch me, then I will blow his wife to kingdom come. Snail. Spine. You trippin', bro? Surround myself with salt. Lots and lots of salt. Like an absurd amount of salt. Like, think of a quantity of salt that's too much, and multiply that by like a lot. I'd probably buy from the manufacturer to get a bulk discount, because of the sheer amount of salt I'd get. I mean, I would be investing most of my money into salt. With all that salt, you could be a pro League of Legends player. Move to a different continent, then the snail. The snail sneaks into a plane to your destination. Plane probably takes off again after landing before he could get off. I'm immortal, right? So all I need to do is strap myself into the next rocket heading to the ISS, as space wouldn't affect me from there. I play the stock market via internet and slowly collude with anti-environmentalists to kill all the snails in the world. Ski that the only snail left is the real one, and leaving no decoy snails. From there, after I return to Earth, I proceed to encase it in plastic clamshell packaging and drop it in a smelt-in crucible and fill it in molten aluminum, like those anthill videos. After this I build an enclosure of Lego bricks and epoxy layer, and coat the whole thing in layers upon layers of different colors of paint, so I know how deep the cracks are getting. Now that I'm kind of safe from my one weakness, I get in peak physical condition, as a treat to myself. After this I create a string of companies that benefit the world, and to improve the connectivity around the world so that I'm always online no matter where I am, and use one of them to watch this box I've created 24/7, and alert me to any activity of this box. Now that I'm secure on this, I create charities and other organizations to help bring the world up to speed, explore, and map every piece of the earth not yet known, explore, and chart our solar system. While doing this I purchase each sports club I'm a fan of to give them the best opportunity every season. After taking time to myself and developing materials that last longer and longer, I encase the snail in layer of each material to ensure that little bastard never escapes. By this point I am a world-renowned Olympic athlete, have shattered every major sports record, truly made the world a better place, and have brought peace to earth. Now after this long list of achievements one might think that I've done all there is to do, but they're wrong. Because I set up a universal government, and, as the only immortal person, will always be the one in charge of it, and that's how it goes until the universe inevitably ends, with me at the helm, and doing all I can to stop it. Okay, let's do this. First things first, that $1 million is practically worthless compared to immortality. Every dime of that cash can and should be spent ensuring that the snail never, ever reaches me. First things first, I keep an eye on him. It's tempting to want to hop on a plane or a train and get as far away as possible. But once I do that, he's gone and I'll never see him again until 3 a.m. on July 14, 2072, when the sneaky little cuss slips in the door and slimes onto me before I ever wake up and notice him. No, I'm going to be within visual distance of the snail, slowly moving away from it until Snail Containment Plan Part A is done. Next I grab my phone. I call up someone I can trust with my life and tell them to come to my location within the hour and to bring a metal cash box, a good padlock, and a firearm. Once they arrive, I inform them of the deal and ask them to grab the snail, shove it into the metal box, and lock it up. Once the snail is temporarily secured, I ask my friend to carry around the box, never letting it out of their sight, and to prevent its opening with as much force as is required. We arrive at some reasonable figure for this service, maybe $50,000. Now we can start in on the real work. I'm on the phone again, contracting with the tungsten machining service out of Willowbrook, Illinois. I ask them to construct for me a hollow tungsten sphere with a small, sealable opening, ideally via both exterior bolts and sintering. I ask them for a rush job and a thick wall depth, perhaps as much as a foot thick. The spherical shape should keep material costs as low as possible for a given thickness, but between the unusual object, large amount of tungsten, and speedy delivery, I invest a truly insane amount into this project, let's say $100,000. I ask them to deliver it to my current location as fast as possible. Once the tungsten ball arrives, I have my friend stand well away from me and transfer the snail into the center of the sphere. I ask them to pour a little salt down into the hole, after it, just to give the snail a little reminder of who he's dealing with. Once snail and salt are both inside, we seal the hollow sphere with the bolts. Tungsten is an amazing material. Incredibly tough, dense, and heat resistant. You could drop it into molten lava, and it wouldn't matter. Which, coincidentally, is almost what I'd like to do next. Now we make sure that damn thing stays shut. I find the nearest metal refinery and call them up. I also contract with a heavy machinery moving company to move the tungsten sphere to the refinery. Once the refinery has sintered the tungsten sphere shut, I buy an entire industrial crucible, those big buckets of molten iron. And the crucible the iron came in, I have them drop the tungsten sphere into the molten iron and let the whole mess cool in place. Mr. Snaily Snail ain't going anywhere, but I'm probably down another $100,000. Now I'm on the phone to specialist movers. Chartering a boat. We're taking this thing halfway around the world. We take the boat right over the Marianas Trench, not the deepest point, but deep enough. We push the whole assembly over the side. Literal tons of once molten iron, refinery crucible, tungsten, salt, and snail slip over the side and begin dropping into the briny deep. Another $100,000 gone, but well worth the cost. Good. That's bought me a little breathing room. But we're not anywhere close to done yet. I still have at least $500,000 left. I'm going to invest it into solid business ventures and slow-growing but secure assets. We are building a fortune, and who cares if it takes a few centuries? I'm frickin' immortal, baby. But as I develop my fortune, it's getting invested into space. SpaceX, asteroid mining projects, whatever. I am trapped on the one planet in the entire universe where I can actually die, and I have no intention of staying there. Over the millennia, I slowly apply my fortune and influence to push mankind to the stars. And the moment living on another planet becomes viable, I'm there. And the instant a habitable planet is around another star, I'm on the first-generation ship heading that direction. But I can't think in such a short-sighted manner now. I'm immortal, and I need to think like it. Eventually, the sun is going to burn the earth to a crisp, and then that damn snail is going to be free. It might take him a few million years to land on something, but he'll do it eventually. And then he will construct his spacecraft and begin crawling towards me again. What I care about now is light cones and black holes. Earth's gotta go. Sorry, whatever's left of humanity. We evacuate anyone still on the old planet and use a gravity tractor to push Earth into a black hole. A nice, big one, so that Hawking radiation will take an incredibly long time to evaporate it away and do nothing. And then I board a ship. A fast ship. I accelerate to as close to light speed as I can get, piloting directly away from the black hole with the snail inside. I want to be so far away and moving so quickly that the heat death of the universe would occur far, far before the snail ever reaches me, even on the fastest ship his freakishly clever little brain can construct. So that's the way the universe ends. With nothing in it except for infrared heat, one hyper-intelligent snail suspended in an inky void, and one human screaming away from it at 99C. Cheers.